Hello, welcome to This and That with Jyoti. Today I am going to show you how I planted my lotus tubers. Maybe this is not a right way, but this is how I did it. Let's get started. We dug a 3 feet deep pond in our backyard and lined with the heavy duty pond liner, which will stop the water from leaking and seeping out. Then we filled the pond with half foot of cow manure, and on top of it another half foot of garden soil, whichever the dirt we got it from digging that backyard, so no special dirt needed. And I filled it with water until just above the soil level, and then carefully place the tuber 1 inch deep in the soil and cover it with soil. Make sure you're not damaging any the new growth or the new those buds, and place a small rock on top of the tuber carefully, because these tubers are filled with air pockets. It might float to the top of the water to the surface, and it won't root properly. So that's why we are going to place a small weight on it carefully without damaging any of that new growth. Now, I want to tell you a tip. When you are filling the water into the pond, don't put the hose directly on the soil and turn on the water. So that way, the water will disturb and stir up the dirt, and all the water will be muddy. So put a small bowl or bucket in the pond, and then put the hose into that bucket and turn on the water. So that way the water slowly overflows from the bucket and fills the pond. It won't disturb the soil. Once you planted the tubers, go ahead and fill the pond with water completely. Just after a week, you will see new leaves emerging from the water. After 3 weeks of planting, I saw that water got a little muddy, but I just waited, and within 2-3 days it cleared by itself. See, after 3 weeks, the whole pond filled with big leaves, and some even started going aerial. That means rising above the water and going into the air. So that means the plant is getting ready to give buds. If you see water level going down anytime, because due to the summer heat, you can fill it with the water again with the hose. So make sure the water level is properly maintained. After 1.5 months approximately, I saw the first few buds emerging. I have been growing lotuses for past 7-8 years, and in my experience, I don't think they need any special fertilizers or pesticides. They are pretty hardy plants, so you don't need to use any pesticides or anything like that. Maybe good fertilizer, not fertilizer, but compost, good compost when planting, and maybe every year in the beginning of the springtime, you can add more compost to the pond. The first flower bloomed almost 1.5 months after planting, so I feel like that's really quick. The first one I planted and I grow is from a seed, so it took 1 year for me to get blooms. But this one, the tuber, I think it makes difference what you planted. Seed will take longer, and tubers they bloom quickly. Few tips I want to share in growing lotuses from my experience is the pond has to be little deeper than the water lily pond. It has to be at least 3 feet deep, and plant tubers if you want to get blooms quickly. The seed, if you start from the seed, it will take at least 1 to 2 years to get the blooms. And choose good healthy blooms, tubers, so that way the survival rate will be high. And it's very hardy plant, so you don't have to worry about fertilizer and pesticides like that. I never saw any pests eating up the leaves or the flowers, so I never used any pesticides. Both times I planted them in full sun, and they successfully grew and bloomed. So I think they like full sun. Maybe little shade is okay, but don't plant in full shade. And in winter time you don't have to dig them up or bring them inside or anything like that. They can well tolerate the freezing temperatures if the pond is deep enough. If it's very shallow, maybe they get damaged. But both my ponds, the previous one especially, it went through 2 3 freezes, and they did perfectly fine, and they came back after winter. In the spring they just came back. Hopefully this video helps you clear out some doubts you might have, and grow your own lotus. It's very forgiving plant, and very low maintenance plant. I hope this helps. Thank you so much for watching.